everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for June 17th through 23rd, 2024. I know I'm in a different setting right now. If you remember in my, not my previous video, because I missed last week, I said I was moving, so I'm actually staying with my dad for a little bit, so I'm in Maryland, but I had every intention to record the video last week, but as you can imagine, an out of state move is not an easy thing, so it just was one of those things that just didn't happen, and then I was away for a week, but here we are again, and let's, we'll have a little bit of catch up. But for those that don't know who I am, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium. I normally say the New York City area, but right now I'm in the sort of in between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore at the moment. We'll see for how long. Hopefully I'll get back to New York. But yeah, maybe this is a good segue to the fact that it's going to be Cancer season very soon. The sun will go into Cancer on June 20th. And for those that may or may not know, but Cancer is the sign of home and family. It brings us back to our roots. It gets into themes about the past and memories, and here I am. I'm not in my childhood home, but I'm certainly around things that I grew up with. I feel like this chair is from the 1980s. But anyway, here we are. So how are you doing? How are you feeling astrology? How did you feel last week? I know that we missed each other. We had some Saturn energy that was happening, so we really, sometimes we can reach a crossroads with Saturn, sometimes we can reach a stepping stone with Saturn, sometimes we hit a hard no or hard yes. So there's this energy of commitment and maturity and really needing to take a step up. And that was some of the things that were very present last week. And when the sun does go into Cancer, we actually will have a full moon this week. And that full moon will be in Capricorn, the sign that is opposite of Cancer. So got a lot of movement in the sky towards Cancer. This week we are wrapping up Gemini season, so we are in the last few days of Gemini season, and before we do get into Cancer season, it's a sign, Gemini, that by its nature wants to move. I think I wrote about this today. I can't remember. I was on a plane, but I was writing how Gemini, and this is the case for all the planets. All the planets have something called a ruling planet. And I know that sounds weird. Like, how can a sign have a ruling planet? It's just a way of saying that there's a planet that acts like the boss for the sign. But it's not just the boss in an arbitrary way. It does it in the sense that it pulls the energy, here and there, depending on, what planet is where. And the ruling planets, and this is something that's a little bit intermediate in astrology, but it creates circulation in the energy, circulation in the astrology, circulation in our life. And so with Gemini season, primarily, I believe this around halfway through Gemini season, Mercury went to Gemini, you started to have this energy of movement. Mercury was in its own sign, Gemini, so Mercury had a lot of status and power. It's like, okay, let's be curious, let's move, and it sort of took us out of a little bit of slower energies that maybe we were feeling with so many planets in Taurus. And I do like a lot of planets in Taurus sometimes, but it is a sign that's an earth sign. Earth energy typically doesn't like to move a lot, so we got that hint of movement. And maybe you felt in your own life in the past couple of weeks that there was a lot of movement. But with Mercury today, June 17th, in now Cancer, it pulls the energy of Gemini season over to Cancer. Now, Cancer is a very different sign than Gemini, and it's not to say that it's bad or different in a negative way. No, of course not. It just has a different motive. Whereas Gemini was all about trying, tasting, seeking, touching, smelling. What does this do? Sometimes that restless curiosity that Gemini is known for. But now with Mercury in Cancer, Cancer's got a different energy. Again, it has different motives. Cancer is more security conscious. It's, I want to do something, I want to choose something because I feel safe. I will move when I feel safe. But at the same time, it's not to say that Cancer is fearful. Of course not. It's we all had that sense of innate need for stability and security, whether that's material or emotional. It's material in Taurus, it's emotional in Cancer. So the emotional stability that we are trying to now seek, of course, we have our own lives, we are our own people, and that's the lens in which we live our astrology. And you hear me say every week, the astrology is 50%, and you are the other 50%. So you are that lens for this energy. So we all have a family. Even if you've completely divorced yourself from your family, or you have certain circumstances in which you grew up in, and even saying that or even hearing that, that might evoke complicated experiences. So that's, sorry, people are calling me. So that is bringing up maybe emotions now that we have Mercury and even Venus in Cancer. Venus went into Cancer today, June 17th. And so Cancer, it touches on the past and memory. It's home, it's family, and as I was saying a few moments ago before I got distracted by the phone, is that we all have a sense of past, we have a sense of foundation, and maybe we want to change that. And we always have a chance to make changes, and that's the thing about astrology, is that it's circular, it's cyclical. And so we come back to Cancer season, and maybe that, we welcome it. Maybe like, okay, great, I really just want to slow down. I want to spend time with my loved ones. Maybe even if it's chosen family. Or maybe it hits on a deeper pain point. Or maybe we just feel like we want to eat comfort food, or we want to stay at home. I realize these are very surface experiences with Cancer, but ultimately all the 12 zodiac signs are archetypes. They're archetypes for life. It's like the blueprint. I love the zodiac, though. It's like the blueprint of life and the experiences that we may have individually and collectively throughout our lives. And so when we reach Cancer, we reach the first water sign. So Aries is the first fire sign. Taurus is the first earth sign. Gemini is the first air sign. And Cancer is the first water sign. So in astrology, it is fire, earth, air, water. These are the four elements. These are our building blocks for energy and experience. But again, remember, there's that sense of circulation in the sky, the circulation of energy in the sky. The first four signs of the zodiac are very rudimentary, not rudimentary as in they're not sophisticated, but rudimentary in the sense that they really get into the roots and the building blocks of our most basic experiences. Whereas Aries is about that sort of rush of life, that first spark of life, that need to really take action, move forward, to really individuate, sometimes to separate. Now we've moved through the first stage of the zodiac to reach a second cardinal sign. Aries is the first cardinal sign. I know, hopefully you're taking notes. And Cancer is the second cardinal sign. The cardinal signs align with the four directions. Aries is the first of spring, at least here in the northern hemisphere. Of course, it's the first of autumn in the southern hemisphere. It is also, sun going into Cancer on June 20th. It's the first of summer here in the northern hemisphere. It's the first of winter in the southern hemisphere. So these are the cardinal signs, and not just the four directions. They symbolically speak to the four pillars of life. The ability to individuate, the ability to be able to take the lead in your own life, to steer your own life is one of the four pillars of life, Aries. The ability to have a sense of home and family, even if that's very different from what you grew up with, or you created something, or you just you and whomever. We all need that sense. It's like built into our DNA. That's Cancer. The other cardinal sign is Libra. Libra aligns with the first of autumn here in the northern hemisphere, spring in the southern hemisphere. But it says that relationships and our ability to socialize and connect are another pillar of life. And then we have the last pillar of life, Capricorn. Capricorn's the final cardinal sign, and it aligns with the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. And that says that we need that to really feel like we are building towards something greater. We all need that push, whether it's to sort of get up and get out of the house, whether it's to make our lives better, whether it's to reach towards a goal and ambition, whether it's to really find our place in the world, whatever that place is. And so Capricorn is the final pillar of life. And so we need, in terms of creating stability in our lives, we need all these four directions to be good, whatever that means, meaning we feel anchored in these four areas. We really feel like we have developed and we are expressing these four areas. But if one of these pillars is shaky, it can kind of feel like our lives are a little shaky. So I just moved. So what do you think my, the Cancer pillar of my life, even though this move is not touching on Cancer as a sign exactly, but this is a little bit intermediate astrology comments, it's hitting my IC. My IC connects to the energy of Cancer, even though I have the sign of Aries there. Just like I said, that's a technical point. So that's just an example, personal example of why Cancer, why, of course, all the signs are important, but you have this really functional structure and stability in the zodiac. It's just something to think about and remember as the sun goes into Cancer this week. Before the sun goes into Cancer, we have the last few days of Gemini season. And so when we get to the end of a sign, which we will on June 19th, June 20th, we sort of reach the end of our time with the sign symbolically. What have we learned? What have we chosen? Where are we going? Gemini is the twins, but that really speaks energetically and even spiritually and esoterically to the fact that life is duality. It's an up or a down, it's a yes or a no, it's a left or a right. And we have to, when we come to the end of Gemini, we need to choose something. Of course, I said this a few moments ago, that the zodiac is a circle, and we can come back on the circle. We have to choose something. And then we live those choices through Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and beyond. There's a sense of fact-finding in Gemini. We need to try everything and do everything so we can have a lot of experience to make a choice, for example. But that said, I think I said this a few moments ago in the introduction, Mercury is now in Cancer. So our decision-making isn't informational, it's intuitive, it's emotional. And so maybe we're going on gut reactions by the time we get to the end of this week, or at least the end of Gemini season. And now Venus is in Cancer. As of today, June 17th, both Mercury and Venus are something called personal planets. The personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, they really talk about our day-to-day life. They really talk about personality. They really talk about how we live ourselves and how we experience astrology on a collective experience. But of course, you have your personal experience with the astrology. And so we start to see that the movement of the sky is coming into a sign, Cancer, that's more, needs to take its time, needs to feel safe, has a strong innate sense of nostalgia, wants to caretake, wants to take care of people, wants to cook for people, wants to make people feel like home. Or maybe we were searching for these things on the other side of the coin, for example. So there is a vibe shift this week. I don't know what you're feeling. I know I'm feeling exhausted. It's been a lot going on the last 2 weeks. Yeah, how are you doing? I know I missed you all last week. As always, where are you watching from? It's just fun to vicariously travel through you all. So we also have this week, we have a full moon in Capricorn. So this full moon will be on June 21st. I forgot to write the time down, but it will be at 1 degree of Capricorn. Full moons, they are a time when life is in full revelation. The light is there. We need to make a decision. There's that word again, decision, choice. It's either a left or right, an up or down, a yes or a no. Full moons sometimes can be provocative. Sometimes they can really feel like there's a lot of things going on. Events can sometimes build around a full moon, and maybe an event that talks about a need to take that next step in our lives. We all, we all are on the journey of life, wherever that takes us, whether it's New York, whether it's Maryland, for example. Like I said, I'm in Maryland temporarily. But anyway, Capricorn marks, at least symbolically speaking, it marks the milestones of our life. And I know I had this whole explanation about rulership in the introduction. The ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. And I know you all know at this point how much I love Saturn, just because it's very interesting planet, very interesting archetype. But Saturn really speaks to the milestones of our life. It's not day-to-day stuff. Saturn is the different stages of our life, our different stages of growth, whether we are young, whether we are middle-aged, whether we are old, different stages of career, of growing up and becoming, whether we get married and have kids, whether we do exactly the opposite. But we all have to carve our own path, and we all have our own personal milestones. And so this full moon, in a way, may echo that. And I was, looking at this full moon, and I moved into my previous apartment in New Jersey on a Capricorn full moon, and it was about the same time in 2021. So there is a repetition of the lunar cycle, but it's interesting, at least for me personally. It's like, oh, like here we are 3 years later, and it's time to say goodbye. Hopefully not forever to New York, but I needed to definitely say goodbye to where I was living. I'm totally at peace with that, by the way. But yeah, we all have that sort of, and that's where the Cancer side of Capricorn, because Cancer is the opposite sign of Capricorn, is that can be some nostalgia, there can be some emotions, or when we hit these different stages of our life. And so with a full moon in Capricorn, we may have to make a decision. We need to take a step up. We need to really honor our maturity, our place in life, our goals and our responsibilities. And don't forget that Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, it's in Pisces. And it's been in Pisces since March of 2023. And it's been pulling the energy of Saturn and even the energy of Capricorn and Aquarius, by the way, over to Pisces. I know it's a little bit of I need to like a whiteboard so you can see what I'm talking about. But Saturn in Pisces, or Pisces rather, is kind of a funny place for Saturn to be, because Saturn is the sign of the matter in the material world, or the planet of the matter and material world. It's the skeleton, it's the form, it's the structure, it's time, it's how we live time. But in Pisces, it's in a sign that's about leaving that behind, about dissolving, about stepping into the ethers, so to speak. It's a very intuitive place for Saturn to be. The last time Saturn was in Pisces was 1994 to 1996, so it's been a while. Saturn has a 30-year cycle. Again, 30 years since 1994. But on one hand, it's really great for music, it's really great for art, but maybe we've been feeling a little bit like this, over the last year, or it's not even last year, it's about probably 15 months at this point. It's because Pisces has a very different motive than Capricorn. Capricorn, just out of the box, this is not a comment about Capricorn as a zodiac sign, as a sun sign, but Capricorn out of the box, it's about the world, our physical manifested world, the matter and the material, and I said this a few moments ago. And so with it in Pisces, we need to now leave that behind. We need to go beyond the physical plane, or we need to somehow find the harmony between our physical lives, the physical demands of our lives, the duties and responsibilities, but also what's in our heart. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Where am I going? Pisces is very deeply existential, and maybe you've been having an existential crisis for the last year. Everybody's different, of course, or maybe you feel more inspired, maybe you feel more intuitive, maybe you are seeking something deeper and spiritual, because there is a very mystical side to Pisces. But Pisces, it's the last, not only the last sign of the zodiac, it's the last water sign. Water brings us in, water takes us out. metaphorically speaking. That last breath of life, that the essence of that breath goes someplace else, and water transports us to the next chapter, the next phase of our spiritual life, for example. And that's a vibe. That's really a lot of where the energy of Saturn is at the moment, and honestly into the beginning of 2026, because Saturn will finally leave Pisces in February of 2026. Yes, it's a 3-year transit. So if you are a Capricorn, if you are an Aquarius, this is, where the energy of your life is very focused at the moment. But this full moon, it brings up the energies of Saturn. It brings up the energies of Neptune. Both Saturn and Neptune are in Pisces. And it does make the opposition to, of course, full moon is in opposition to the sun in Cancer, but it may talk about this initiation into a new phase of your life, because a season initiates us into the next stage of the year, the next chapter, but also, metaphorically speaking, this could be the next phase and chapter of something, so we'll have to see. But anyway, that's your look at this week. Let's quickly look at the aspects this week for June 17th through 23rd, 2024. So as I was saying, on June 17th, today, Monday, as I record this, we have both Mercury and Venus in Cancer. They do make a conjunction. That just means that two planets come together, because Mercury is now speeding past Venus. It's getting more speed, but it's pulling the energy of Gemini season towards Cancer. Roots, family, home, nostalgia, past, and memories. Also, we get into later this week, the sun reaches the end of Gemini, and it does make a square to Neptune. So Neptune's hanging out at 29 degrees of Pisces, which, interestingly enough, now that I'm just kind of making the link, the last degree of Pisces is the last degree of the zodiac. It's like the finality of something. And Neptune is there, which is like, what does that even mean? Because Neptune is an evolutionary planet. It's not a day-to-day planet. It doesn't talk about what you had for lunch, doesn't talk about what you want to be when you grow up, unless Neptune is very much a part of your career trajectory according to your personal astrology. But Neptune's at this last point, so it's really leading us towards something. But Neptune has a polarity, just like every planet. It has higher love, it has unconditional love, it has these deep spiritualities attached to it, but then it has illusions, because illusions is the other side of the coin. So we're in the middle of something. We've reached the end of a great cycle, even if that's not exactly evident. And Neptune pulls back the veil between this world and the next world. And so maybe on some personal or maybe even a collective level, we are in this sort of etheric, the veil has been pulled back. We're going through into this liminal space. We'll talk more about Neptune, because I'm like, oh, right, Neptune's at 29 Pisces. We should talk more about that. But then then the sun goes into Cancer, starts to pull away from Neptune, and it's Cancer season. So happy birthday, Cancers. It's your birthday season. And of course, with the sun now in Cancer on June 20th, it's the summer solstice here. The northern hemisphere is the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. And then we get to the 21st of June, and we have a full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign opposite of Cancer at 1 degree. And so it may provoke a need to be more mature, to make more decisions, to take a step up, to go in a different direction. And Saturn is in Pisces, and so we need to honor the choices that are both practical for our physical lives, but also honor the choices that are right for our heart and our soul, of course. And this full moon is activating different things or different signs. It's not one of those full moons that's picking up on a lot of intense energies. It's interesting because this is our first full moon in Capricorn without Pluto in Capricorn in like 16 years. I know, it's crazy. So this is a different vibe, because Pluto's not in the background at the moment. But see where you are being asked to take a step up this week, where you need to put things in order, where you feel the energy of transition and new chapters, and how that is expressing in your own life for example. And then we get into the weekend. It's on the 22nd of June. Mercury, now that it's in Cancer, it's squaring the nodes. Oh, that's the thing I should mention. This full moon, I think we have another full moon in Capricorn. It's one of those rarities where we only have 2 full moons. Yes, we'll have a Capricorn full moon on July 21st at 29 degrees. So that's the beginning and end of the sign. So 1 degree is beginning, 29 degrees is the end. Both these full moons, June and July in Capricorn, they do activate the nodes. And we are going, Cancer season brings us to 3 months after the solar eclipse that we had on April 8th, 3 months before the solar eclipse that we will have on October 2nd. So we may find that the end of June, beginning of July will mark a transition in something that is directly connected or even presaging the eclipse to come in October. So that midway point, I've just noticed over and over again, typically is a very important transition point with the eclipse energy. Mercury is squaring the nodes on the 22nd of June, and so that sense of decision and choices and like where am I going and needing to turn a corner, that energy may be present as you go into the rest of the weekend. So let's look at each of the 12 zodiac signs and where this full moon in Capricorn will activate for you, starting with Aries. Aries, so Mars is your planet. I don't know if you noticed a shift now that Mars is in Taurus. It got into Taurus. Goodness, I think, sorry, my brain is scrambled with the move, but it'll come to me. Mars in Taurus. When did Mars go in Taurus? Anyway, it'll come to me. It was in June. Yes, June 9th. Oh, there we go. So the energy of your sign is pointed towards Taurus. It is very much a time in your life until the middle of July to really focus on your material life. We all have basic needs. We need shelter. We need to make sure we have the resources, the income that we need. And maybe it's value that you're really thinking about. Like, what's of value to you in your life? Do you feel like you're valued? Sometimes there's the emotionality around money and value, of course, but this is a time for you to really look at these things and to really shore up your material life. Sometimes when this area of your life is activated, there's a big purchase. Sometimes it's an investment. Sometimes it's a home. You purchase property or you purchase something big, but it's of course it's different for everybody. Capricorn is something called your career sign. It's the 10th sign of the zodiac, and it is your 10th sign, because you're an Aries. And so we have the sun now in Cancer, at least on June 20th. And there's this push and pull that's happening between your home life, your inner life, and your public life. And this is maybe one of those transitional points in the year for you, but I do want to remind you, Aries, that you had a solar eclipse in your sign on April 8th. And very often I have seen it over and over again. It's different, of course, because it really is specific to your own chart. Like the sun in Aries or Aries rising is just one part of the equation, an important part, but it just says that you may see more about what this eclipse is about in late June and early July, whether it's around the full moon on June 21st, whether it's around the new moon. The Cancer new moon, I think, is on the 5th of July, or even the full moon in the Capricorn. I think that was the 21st of July. And these eclipses are talking about major new beginnings for you, turning points, but they're also putting the focus on relationships for you, Aries. So this could also talk about relationships and the people in your life, and maybe even people coming into your life. Oh, I should add Aries, is that this full moon points towards Pisces. There is something about, sometimes we need to let something go, even if it's a vision of what we thought we were going to have, in order to move forward, in order for something better to come in. Sometimes we need to find peace with something that we've been holding on to, and sometimes we need to bring that peace to a relationship so we can start something new. Taurus. Taurus, so Venus is your planet and it just went into Cancer, so it's pulling the energy of you towards a sign that's very much focused on home, family, roots, and foundation. The past few weeks, especially with like, I think it was 1.5 planets and Gemini, it was like really about movement and curiosity and maybe just a lot of things happening, maybe busyness in your life. But Cancer sometimes needs to slow down. It needs to focus on family. It's a little bit more emotional. It wants to focus on the things that are really important. Ironically, because Cancer is your third sign of the zodiac, maybe you are going to be continue to be busy into the next few weeks. You've got things to do, places to go, but it has a different element to it, a different twinge to it. It's about family, it's about the past, it's about really needing to look at things and really speak from the heart. For example, this Capricorn full moon for you, it highlights your what's called your ninth sign. One of the reasons I love the zodiac is that of all the 12 signs, and just your friendly reminder, Taurus, you are one sign, but you have all the other 11 signs around you. They represent the different parts of your life. And so the ninth sign of the zodiac for anybody, but it just happens to be Capricorn for you, Taurus, is the ninth sign says that we need to really open up our eyes to the world. We need to really figure out what we believe in, what we stand for. We need to be curious about life. We need to travel. We need to try new things. But we also need to develop a sense of wisdom and knowledge about things, maybe to figure out what do I believe in, what do I stand for. But the ninth really it wants us to, sort of look beyond this world. The ninth, because it's typically governed by Sagittarius and Jupiter. It's a sign that, and it's a space in our personal zodiac that wants to make our lives bigger. It's not the light of the sun. It's not the light of fire. It's the light of the stars. So I love the ninth space, the ninth sign, because it's also a space of wonder. On a very surface level, maybe you are planning a trip, a long distance journey. Maybe you are thinking about a place you would love to go, even if you don't have time or even the resources to make that happen. Maybe you just want to take classes. Maybe you just have a lot of opinions. We're all different. But this full moon is really highlighting a need to answer something about faith. Answer something about, what's your place in the world? Like, who's your friends? Who's your community? What's belonging and what's home for you? So it could be a little bit of provocative full moon, but it doesn't have the same provocation that it is for some of the other signs, but it does start to bring in the energies of the nodes, and how for you, Taurus, this is a year of transitions on some level. Gemini. Happy birthday, Gemini. We've got just a few more days of your season. So if your birthday is this week, all the way to June 20th, happy birthday. That said, you had a lot of planets in your sign over the past couple of weeks. Maybe there's just a lot of things going on in your lives. Maybe there's things to do, places to go, for example. But now there's going to be a vibe shift. In fact, Mercury, your planet, left Gemini and went into Cancer today, June 17th. Cancer makes you feel a little bit more emotional, just on a very surface personality level, but it's true. It typically is a sign that makes you feel your feels. Cancer, because Cancer is a water sign, it really gets into these root feelings, like, am I safe? Do I have enough? Am I loved? Am I cared for? Like, who's holding me? Do I feel held by life? Sort of these deeper emotional themes. What's my relationship with my family? Like, how did that set me up? How did that maybe work against me or work for me? And maybe these things are all starting to come up. Cancer is something called your second sign of money and income. And so on a surface level, maybe you need to focus on your material life, your spending, what you own, what you're investing in. And the full moon in Capricorn on June 21st is putting a spotlight in something called your eighth sign. So depending on the person, the eighth sign can be very much about money, in a sense of like, what's my wealth? What are my assets? What do I share with maybe a partner? My partner and I, we own something. It doesn't matter if you're single or maybe you have benefits or you're trying to think about your 401k, for example. But the 8th is also a space that confronts us. And I mean that in the best possible way. And I'm saying this as a Scorpio, is that we can't always be safe in a good way. You know what I mean? Like we can't always stay in the same small space. And so sometimes we need that poke and that prodding of life. And this Capricorn full moon might make you feel something very deep, or maybe like, oh, am I safe? Do I have enough? Or maybe it's bringing up themes around trust and vulnerability, power, control, intimacy, because the 8th will also show us something about ourselves that maybe we haven't been looking at, for example. But that necessary process is so we can transform, for example. This full moon actually is highlighting a very important planet in your astrology at the moment, Saturn. Saturn continues to be in your career sign. Of course, not, every Gemini or Gemini rising is a different person, but you have to understand that you have this huge push from the universe at the moment, Saturn, to really get your stuff together. Whether it's to work harder in your professional life, I know you're thinking, but because it's not always just career, but you have to understand, even if I took career out of the equation, we all need to figure out where we belong. Even if that's, something that's, career oriented, or something that's in that very traditional way of expressing this part of our astrology, or we just need to grow up. And we can grow up at any age. It's not when we're in adolescence. Life may be asking more of you right now. You need to step up into something. You need to occupy a space that's already there, or you need to do it better, because sometimes Saturn will show us where we have not been doing things the right way. Of course, this is not you. But this is a time, for some people, a time of career building, for some career questioning, and especially as you go towards the end of June, and we have Saturn turn retrograde, there's a need to make some bigger decisions in your place in the world, and the duties and the responsibilities that you occupy. Cancer. Happy birthday, Cancer, if you are born at the beginning of Cancer. So the sun goes into your sign. It comes back home to you on June 20th. I think it's like 4 something p.m. is when we have the summer solstice, at least here on the East Coast of the United States. So the sun in your sign is symbolically the start of a new beginning. I know it's your birthday, and so you've come full circle since 2023 when the sun was in your sign, and maybe you need that sense of coming back to life. Maybe you need that sense of renewal, and that sense of like you need to start moving forward in your life, because our birthday season, regardless of who we are, when the sun is in our sign, there is an initiative to take action and to move forward. And sometimes we get very wistful around our birthday, and we look at the past, we're like, okay, what worked, what didn't work? And so you really using this birthday season to take action in your life. You do have a full moon. You actually will have 2 full moons in Capricorn during your birthday season. The first will come on June 21st. So Capricorn is a relationship sign. And this is a season, certainly end of June and into July, where it's also about other people. Maybe somebody's coming into your life, maybe other people demand more from you, or maybe you want to socialize more, or maybe there's just a lot more people in your life at the moment. The energy of Saturn is pointing towards Pisces, and Pisces is something called your 9th sign. So here's the thing, we all need to sort of open up to the world. We can't stay like this. We need to sometimes read books, sometimes it's education, we need to get a degree, sometimes we don't need that degree. It's just to really be curious about life and to open up our eyes and try to figure out what do we believe in and what do we stand for. And for some people it's through traditionally the lens of religion, for other people it's philosophical, spiritual, but there is that sort of overlay through this week. And whatever is happening in relationship, whether it's romantic or platonic, there may be something about beliefs, there may be something about faith and feeling like you are on the same page with somebody. If it's not faith, then it's about opinions and maybe sharing your opinion, sharing what you believe in, what you stand for. Maybe it's teaching, and maybe you're traveling with somebody. Maybe you're going on a long journey, for example. But this is one of those full moons just to kind of keep an eye out, because it really marks your birthday season. And it talks about this energy of taking the next step up. Leo. So the sun is your planet, and it's in Cancer at the moment, or will be in Cancer starting on June 20th. When the sun is in Cancer, you have reached the end of your personal zodiac. And so Cancer season, all 4 weeks of it, is the sacred time to go within. You've completed a chapter. The sun has now reached the last zodiac sign in your personal calendar. What did you learn? What worked? What didn't work? What do you need to let go of? There's the need to really spend some quiet time with yourself, all in advance of your birthday season. Cancer is a very personal. It's like a place that you go on retreat. It's not a place that you spend with a lot of people. It's, like I said, it's a space of inner reflection. But on the other side of the coin, we have the Capricorn full moon on June 21st, and that highlights something called your sixth sign. If the 12th is the last for you as Cancer, then Capricorn is your sixth sign. And if the 12th is very spiritual, internal, is solitary on some level, at least symbolically, the 6th is really about our earthly life. And so you're straddling Cancer this week, that divide between heaven and earth. How do you coming full circle, look at your day-to-day life? What needs to change? What needs to get reorganized? Is the system working? Maybe you're also focusing on health and wellness, your physical health, your physical wellness, but also your emotional health, your spiritual health as well. And there may be a dynamic push for you to really make something real. You have a vision or dream for something you want in your life. What are the practical steps that you're going to do in order to make it happen? Because that's where the 6 really does its work. It really says, if you want this to be real, you need to figure out the plan. You need to figure out the steps. And if you do have a vision, like, how are you going to bring that vision into manifestation? So on one level, there's a little bit of magic for you this week. On another level, Cancer, there is that spiritual element. There's that sense of faith and truth and meaning, and trying to seek something. But then with Capricorn and Saturn being Saturn, or a need to make, did I say Cancer? For you, Leo, Capricorn being Capricorn, a need to make something real. Virgo. So Mercury is your planet, and Mercury has just gone into Cancer. So for you, Virgo, Cancer is something called your 11th sign. Is that right? Yes. It's your 11th sign. And so Mercury is now starting to complete its journey throughout the zodiac. So you're Virgo, but you've got 11 signs around you that symbolically mark the different parts of your life. The 11th, which is where Mercury is at the moment, it's friends, it's community. It's whether you are spending more time with friends, whether you're socializing, whether you're like, where are my friends? Who are my friends? Whether you feel that big push and drive to make new friends, for example, to join a group. There's a need for camaraderie at the moment, people with whom you see eye to eye with, or maybe you want to take that Virgo energy that loves to help and serve, and you want to volunteer. You want to volunteer in your community. Mercury is also in a space that does talk about humanitarian themes, whether you are more aware of what's going on in the world, whether you are more aware that you want to be a participant, or maybe you're just trying to figure out which way is up. The 11th also talks about the systems, the greater systems in your life. Like Virgo, typically, I realize this is going to be different from every Virgo, but typically Virgo is a sign that has a strong sense of structure and system. That's why it has a reputation for being organized. But sometimes the system's working, sometimes it's not. But then, what's the greater system of your life? How does your day-to-day life connect to community, society, humanity? For some, it's politics. But really, to go out into the world during this time when Mercury is in Cancer, Venus is in Cancer, and now the Sun's going to be in Cancer. It's also a time to really hope and dream for the future. Capricorn, on the other hand, which is opposite Cancer, is something called your fifth sign. Capricorn is an earth sign, just like you. Capricorn typically likes to be the boss of things. It likes to be structured and neat and organized. It really has a strong innate sense of power, for example. That said, Capricorn is also something called your fifth sign. And the fifth sign really gets into these themes about identity and self. Who am I? Where am I going? But like, what are my gifts, my talents, my abilities? And maybe you're thinking like, I'm not artistic, but talents, gifts, and abilities isn't just art. So it's really putting the spotlight on that sense of self and identity, and really sharing who you are, and more importantly, sharing who you are with the world. This full moon does pick up on Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces, and Saturn is currently playing a big role in your life at the moment. It's in your relationship sign of Pisces. Of course, it's going to be different from every Virgo, but this is a time for Virgo in some way to prioritize relationship. For some people, that is romantic relationship. For some people, it's like, I really need to make sure I have other people in my life. I want to make connections. For some people, it's building a serious relationship. And for some people, if they're in an existing relationship, especially if that relationship is not working, it's a need to set boundaries and to make some serious decisions. So that might be in the mix around this Capricorn full moon. Whatever you need to decide, you have to be true to exactly who you are. Libra, this Venus is your planet, almost the sun. Venus is your planet, and it's just gone into Cancer. So here's the thing, Libra, you are a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs align with the four directions. Libra, Aries, these are the signs of the equinox. And then Capricorn and Cancer, these are the signs of the solstice. So these are like the four directions of life. So whenever you have planets in these four signs, typically things are happening in your life. So we have Venus in Cancer. Cancer is something called your 10th sign. Career, duties, responsibilities, really finding your place in the world, really taking your duties and responsibilities in life seriously. So on one level, maybe you're in a place that's very public because the 10th is very visible in public. We are spending more time out in the public. We are more visible, for example, especially around that Cancer new moon on July 5th. We now need to have new beginnings in our professional life. But then there's the full moon on the other side of the sky, and it's in Capricorn, your sign of home and family and roots and foundation. Capricorn full moon for Libra can also speak to a change in the household, a need to make a change or decision about your living situation. Somebody is moving in, somebody is moving out. Maybe you're making a move, maybe just redecorating and reorganizing. For example, the energy of the full moon is pointing towards Pisces. And for you, Pisces, it's something called your sixth sign. It's health and wellness. It's how you run your day-to-day life. And maybe it's a need to come up with a plan for something, whether it's a plan about your home life, a plan about your future, a plan about your career, and really needing to take actionable and accountable steps to get towards some sort of bigger goal in your life. But that said, especially as we go into July, it's a big time for you, and it's sort of this full moon and the full moon and the second full moon in Capricorn that we'll have on July 20th, 21st. It presages the October 2nd solar eclipse in Libra. So really start to pay attention, because don't forget you have at least been having eclipses in your sign and your relationship sign, and it is a dynamic time to be a Libra. Scorpio. So Mars is your planet. It's in your sign of relationships, Taurus. So it's taking the energy of you and it's putting it into a place that's very social. It needs to connect, it needs to interact, it needs to build connection, and it's also about relationship. And so that means different things to different people. If you are in a relationship, sometimes Mars can really poke some buttons, so maybe things are a little bit more stressful, or a little bit more like something's going on in a relationship. Or maybe there's just this huge motivation to spend more time with a partner. Or if you're single, maybe you feel more motivated to make a connection with somebody new, or to initiate that process, for example. But we will have the Mars-Uranus conjunction. I think it's in do I have it? Mars-Uranus conjunction is on. I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, somewhere on this post-it note. But it is later. I think it's in later this month, I believe. So this is building up towards something, and I just wanted to put that little pin there because there's a need for breakthrough. There's a need for change. There's a need to completely do something differently. And you may find that that's happening in relationship in some way. Capricorn full moon for you, Capricorn is something called your third sign. So when the sun is in Cancer, it's reached the ninth sign. And this is a time, Cancer season, for you to focus on travel, exploration, maybe foreign travel, planning a trip, maybe it's education, teaching classes, taking classes, maybe really thinking about a degree or some sort of specialized study, or maybe it's just an existential, philosophical time for you. The full moon in Capricorn also talks about education, but it's a little bit more on the taking classes, writing, speaking, communicating. Maybe you're starting a manuscript, maybe you're teaching a class. I know I said that before, but it's just a lot of movement right now. Maybe there's trips, maybe you've got a lot of things to do, you're running around. And this energy of this full moon is pointing towards Saturn in Capricorn, or Saturn in Pisces. And Pisces is something called your fifth sign. This could be a very creative time for you. A need to take your talents, gifts, and abilities and to share them, to communicate them. Maybe you're a writer, maybe your talents lie in teaching. So it's something to make something very concrete, because that's the thing about Capricorn and Saturn, is to make something very concrete about your talents and gifts and abilities. And do keep in mind that Saturn has been in Pisces since for 1 year, and this has continued to be a time over the last year for you to take yourself and take your talents seriously. Sagittarius. So Jupiter is your planet. I know we've been talking about this. It's in Gemini. It's been in Gemini, I think, since May 25th. So not quite a month, so 3 weeks. How are you feeling, Sag? Like, do you feel a turning point? Do you feel movement? Do you feel stuck? You're like, what are you talking about, Katie? Like, what's happening? Nothing's happening. This will be a time into May of 2025 where the big focus is on relationship. For some people that's literal. It's about starting relationship, or there's just a lot of things going on in an existing relationship. And for some people it's just a need to connect. We can't do life alone. We need to make sure that there's movement and there's exchange. And that's the thing about being a Sag or a Sag rising, is that you need to make your world bigger. Making your world bigger means including other people in it. But that said, we do have a full moon in Capricorn this week, and it just so happens that Capricorn is something called your second sign of money and income. So Cancer, your eighth sign, Capricorn, your second sign, you may find that for the next few weeks is a big focus on money. We have material lives. Of course, we have different needs, but we do have basic needs. We need resources. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to earn a living. If you figured out a way not to do that, fantastic, great. I'm still trying to figure that out, joke, but this full moon does get into these very basic things that we all share as human beings. The need to really shore up your life. Cancer season does get into deeper emotional material about the past and memories, and the memories that we carry, and a need to face something about ourselves, and maybe even to face something about our past. The energy of this full moon is pointing towards a very important planet in your astrology right now, Saturn in Pisces. So you continue to be in a 3-year chapter that is putting a lot of focus on your home life, family. Maybe there's a move. Maybe there's a need to create a family or create a home. Maybe you are making an investment around this full moon, to purchase a property, the building of something that's going to really create a new chapter and a sense of stability and security of your life. You've got a lot of 2 of the 4 pillars of your life very highlighted right now, but with the rulers, of course, you may find that 2024 and 2025 is really trying to make something real and concrete for you. This has been starting since 2023, but this is a full moon where you might need to make a decision about your living situation and also something about family in the past. Capricorn. So Capricorn, Saturn is your planet, and Saturn has been in Pisces for the last year. So this is a dominant theme. You just happen to be a sign that's governed by a planet that takes 29 years to go around the sun. So for every 3 years, Saturn will concentrate its energy on one sign of the zodiac. And that's just your pace, your time, your rhythm. And so Pisces for you continues to be a space that's about voice, communication, how you think and listen and learn, and even the choices that you make in life. I hope at this point, because it's been probably about 15 months, you've started to see the theme. For some people, it is literally about voice. It is literally about education and thinking and learning and being curious and the choices that you make. And for some, maybe it's a little bit more subtle. But the idea is to go back to March 2023 when Saturn went in, or June 2023 when Saturn turned retrograde. Then Saturn's direct in November 2023. Then Saturn's going to turn retrograde this month, the end of June of 2024. And those are just some, there's more dates I could give you, but dates when you would maybe start to see a story emerge that's specific to your life. That said, Cancer season means you're halfway through your personal calendar. Cancer is your sign of relationships, home, family, relationships, connection, and don't forget, Capricorn, that there was an eclipse on April 8th, and that was in your sign of home and family. That says there may have been or there will be a change in the household, something that's very specific to the person in the chart, over the next 6 months. But here we are, it's 3 months since April, and sometimes we have to get to the midpoint of the eclipses to really see what the eclipse is about. The midpoint of the eclipse also presages the eclipse to come on October 2nd, 2024. So that eclipse is going to be in Libra, your career sign. It's career, it's your place in the world, it's your duties, your responsibilities. And so there's a lot that's starting to happen in your astrology. And, with Saturn in Pisces, it's about choice, it's about decisions, it's about mature, responsible decisions, but also not intellectually listening to your intuition, but allowing yourself to really hear yourself and hear your intuition. Oh, and also, because it's a Capricorn full moon, you are in the spotlight right now, and it may be a dynamic time in your life at the moment. Aquarius, Saturn is your planet, and it's in your sign of money, income, material, stability, and security. I know I say this every week. It just so happens that you are one of those signs of the zodiac where your ruler, like the major timekeeper of your life, moves more slowly. It's different if you're a Gemini. Mercury is always doing this, but with you, Saturn takes its time. And that's one of the things about being Aquarius or being a Capricorn, is that your life has its own time. And sometimes things take time and take more time than your peers, for example. So Saturn, it's for you, hopefully at this point, because we are 15 months into Pisces, Saturn and Pisces, for you to start to see what is the story that's emerging around resources, value, worth, material stability and security, that sense of feeling like you have enough, what you own, your property, your assets. It's different for every person, for example. That said, Capricorn, we do have a full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is something called your last sign. And, it's the 12th sign for you. You are the first. You are Aquarius, but you have 11 other signs around you that stand in for the different chapters and phases of your life. So when you reach the 12th, you've reached the end. You are leaving the physical life behind. You are transitioning into something new. And this might be a theme, metaphorically speaking, that is very present as you go into the rest of the week. A full moon is typically a little bit more event-oriented, or it pushes us to make a decision, to go in a certain direction. Listen to yourself, give yourself time, give yourself space, give yourself internal space. Maybe you need to take a rest, you need to recoup, maybe you just need to reflect on something in your life. You sort of reach the end of a cycle. There will be 2 full moons in Capricorn. The next one will be July. This is unusual. The next one will be July 21st. It just says there's a lot of concentration on a sign that speaks about spirituality for you and a need to go beyond this physical world, whatever that means to you, of course. That said, Cancer season is about really the day-to-day stuff in your life, making sure everything's ordered and organized. Maybe it's health, it's wellness. You need to, on a very practical level, take care of your body, take care of your physical health. But then maybe the full moon in Capricorn is giving you an opportunity to let something go. It could be an addiction, it could be an attachment, something that no longer serves you, and you would like to make space in your life for something new. Pisces. Pisces, you're the last sign of the zodiac, and Jupiter is your planet. And as you remember me saying at the end of May, Jupiter is now in Gemini. So it's like the major driver of time in your life. It's in a different sign. So it only does this once every year, usually. And so over the next 12 months, I guess 11 at this point, the energy of your sign is pointing towards Gemini, which for you is the sign of home and family and roots and foundation. Do keep in mind that you have Saturn in your sign. I know I keep saying this, but Saturn's in Pisces, and it's like a big deal. It's it's only once every 30 years that Saturn is in Pisces. It continues to be a time that is asking more of you, whether it's to take on more responsibility, whether you feel like you have to take on more responsibility, or maybe there's just a need to really grow and mature in this phase in your life. But and with Gemini and Jupiter and Gemini, it's a time that's also about family, and sometimes even the duties and responsibilities of family. You're starting a family, or maybe really thinking about the things that are truly important in your life. A Capricorn full moon is opposite the Cancer sun. Cancer is a water sign, just like you. Pisces, you feel everything. You're deeply empathic and empathetic sign. And sometimes the things that you feel are not yours, by the way. That said, the sun in Cancer puts the focus on your fifth sign. It's a time to really get back to the things that light you up, that give you joy, that give you pleasure. And maybe that's an important reminder, especially because you've had Saturn in your sign over the last 15 months. Saturn is Saturn, and Saturn plays an important role, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are, getting our cup refilled. Use Cancer season to refill your cup. What's going to help you to feel replenished, whether it's doing something that you love, or it's a creative project, or something that really is more self-affirming. For example, Capricorn on the other side of the sky is your 11th sign. It's friends, it's community, and maybe this is a full moon where you really are thinking about, on one level, who are my friends? Really building a sense of friends and community, your social circle. Maybe on another level, you're really thinking about the future, like where am I going? Like what's the life that I'm trying to build, and how do I want to orient myself for the future? For some people, there's maybe you're very much involved in social issues and social causes, and this full moon really gives you this opportunity to take something that's very much in your heart and to help people, to serve from that place in your heart. But of course, it's for you to see how this is relevant for you. So that is your look at the astrology of June 17th through 23rd, 2024. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. You can book a consultation with me. You can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Spotify. I have a newsletter that I put out every week, although I completely blanked on it this week because I was moving and traveling, and it just didn't happen. So maybe it will happen. I'm not sure. I might need to sort of hit the pass button this week for my own sanity. But anyway, that said, I appreciate you all. It's good to see you. I know I'm in the middle of transition. I gotta take one more car drive back up to my old place and get the rest of my stuff. I know it's not done yet. Still trying to figure out what my vibe is, what my backdrop is, now that I'm here in at my dad's place. So Have a great week, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Bye-bye.